Gonna hit share as well. So just a reminder that these calls are on the and third Tuesdays of every month, and the purpose behind Builders Best Practices is for attracting agents into your team, into your organization, whatever that looks like. Laura, can you keep an eye on people in the background? I can see it popping up on my screen, but I can't really see it. Thank you. And where we can collaborate and talk about all of the different ways that that is done or can be done. So I'm grateful to all of you for being present on this. I would tell you it's a beautiful Tuesday, but it doesn't look very, very beautiful outside. Houston can't decide if it's hot, cold, in between. Every other day I turn my heat on and then my air and then my heat and then my air. It's a very strange situation to be in. Okay, can you guys see my big screen here that says the power of vision? Excellent. I hope you all are ready for big vision today. And just as a reminder, I love for these to be super interactive. I don't love just talking at you. I would much prefer to talk with you. And the reason that I decided on this today is because I've been speaking with so many agents lately. I have several mega teams coming into our organization that I've been working with. And I was on the phone on Zoom yesterday with one. And it was very interesting to see him already build an incredible vision for what he wants. He's not even with us yet. He better be here by Thursday. I feel like Casey said it this morning. I said, this feels like it's harder. It's like we're planning a wedding as opposed to like just onboarding someone. And I was like, can we elope? It feels like it's faster. However, he was sharing his vision with me yesterday. And then he asked me, how could he get to that 1,000 right away, right? And he was sharing kind of what he was thinking, and it was really, really exciting to see. And we were able to start kind of building backwards from it. So it gave me the idea to talk to you guys about this today. Now, why 1,000 agents? Right? Everybody's number is different. You don't have to say 1,000, but I thought I would kind of take over what he was doing and what some other folks in our organization have mentioned to me. So it's going to entirely depend on your own personal vision for yourself on what you want that organization to look like. And what I usually, this is just me because I'm a high C on the DISC assessment, I like to determine what that number is and then work backwards. So in this case, he said 1,000. I asked him why. And a lot of it had to do with some calculations that we had given to him previously. So we like to underpromise and overdeliver. As you all know, there are a lot of ways to earn in all levels of your rev share, right? The number is different for each one. We like to use just a base $300 an agent. Okay, the reason for that is you're going to have some cappers, some half cappers, some quarter cappers, and some people who will only do one transaction and some people who will do none. So instead of saying $1,400 for this and $700 for this level, we just give you a blanket, very under-promising number of $300 per agent. If it's more, we're all going to celebrate. If it's not, then we're going to say 300 is probably a fairly good number. And I calculate this on Casey's all the time. Mine is, I'm a smaller organization than Casey. However, the average in mine is about $800 an agent because most of the people in my organization run very productive teams. Okay, so it's going to depend on who's coming into your organization. Now, when he talked to me, I said, great, let's talk about $300 an agent. And how we came about this was how much he wanted to earn a month in revenue share. Okay, so in order to figure out what that is, you're going to say however many agents that is. So for him to equal $25,000 in revenue share a month, that's $300,000 a year. You're going to divide that 300,000 by 300, right? So that you can see how I got the number. I was like, great, you need 1,000 people. If your ultimate goal is to bring in $25,000 gross every month from revenue share, let's calculate it at that under promising number of 300. We need 1,000 people in the organization. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so before we move forward, I want everybody, you can close your eyes, you can keep them open, whatever that is. I want you to come up with your monthly number. What is it that you would like to be bringing in revenue share monthly? And for him, it was so he could be out of production, right? So he was like, I don't want to have to be in production anymore. I want to be able to step away from this. Maybe I'm only in it part-time, so I'll get 1,000 by the end of 2025 and then, slowly grow it from there. But I want you to just stop for a moment and think about what's your monthly number that would make you feel like that was like a massive win for you. Okay, everybody start and write that down. and then do the math, because then I want you to figure out, is yours 1,000? Is it 500? Like, what does that number look like for you? Okay. Everybody feel like they have it? Anybody feel like they struggle with determining what that number is? You do? Okay, Tammy, tell me why.
I just feel like I'm at the very beginning and I'm frustrated.
Okay, that's fair.
And so I feel like I have to start really small, but that doesn't mean I don't have bigger dreams, but I'm not hitting my marks. I'll put it that way.
I'm not either, so don't feel bad.
Mm.
Like, and I do this almost full time. So I feel like agents are in a kind of a weird spot right now. I was just on with Laura and Casey on our morning huddle, and I said, I've been so frustrated with the people that I'm in contact with and recruiting, because I text them, I email them, I call them, and I video text them as well. And I'm like, nobody ever answers the phone. And I was like, I feel like my next video is going to be like, hey, I'm really worried about you as an agent because you don't ever answer your phone. So I think I might know why your production is down. Like, I feel like I just need to be like a little for a minute, because they don't answer. I'm like, where are you people? Like, just even be like, hey, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I would accept that and move on. But they don't even answer the phone. So Tammy, don't worry about the fact that if you're not at that. What I want you to think about though in your mind is, what is that number that would let you feel some sense of freedom, right? Or that you could leverage that income for something else specifically, because we want you to work backwards, right? I do a lot in Chat GPT, and I was like, all right, if I wanted to hit 10,000 people in my organization, it worked backwards for me on how many people I would have to talk to every day, how many conversations. It was daunting. I'm not going to lie. It was like, you need to talk to at least 40 agents a day. And I was like, I will absolutely lose my mind. I have to talk to 40 agents a day. However, I said to myself, okay, what if it was 20? Would I be upset if I spoke to 20 agents a day? No, right? That's still a massive win. And then I said,
I'm
then
gonna
if I
fool around with
started,
these today and see what I come up with. Period.
I'm going to mute. Uh, if then I got in, and now I am, by the way, I felt like 20 was too much. And then now I'm averaging about 23 or 26 calls a day and trying to get at least 5 contacts. So at first it felt like that was an impossible goal for me to reach, given everything else I'm doing during the day. And then finally I was like, hey, 3 days in a row, I'm over 20. I'm feeling pretty good about this number. So 30 and 40 aren't feeling so impossible for me. Does anyone here have a goal around earning revenue share and getting out of production? Yeah. Oh, okay. Excellent. Nope. Michelle's like, I'm going to sell forever. Uh, I do not sell anymore, nor do I ever want to. So for me, it's very important. Okay. So everybody has their number, right? You've got a general idea of what that is. And I don't want to say general, because I do want you to be specific. If it's $10,000 a month, if it's $5,000 a month. And I always tell people, if you're feeling a little bit stuck about how to come up with that number, I want you to think about something that will change in your life. And I like to give people real life examples. For me, last year, I had to place my father in a memory care assisted home facility. It is $5,000 a month. Okay. It's very expensive. I was able to sell his house. It was able to give me a little bit of runway to pay for that out of that. It's almost gone. So for me, when I look at that, I'm like, got to get to 5,000 a month, because where else is that money coming from? Because Selina's not going to go sell houses again. It's not going to happen. So that is a very real life example of like, hey, this is going to happen. I'm going to need this extra leveraged income in order to feel like every month I can pay for that bill and it's never going to make me worry again, right? Or it can be like, I want to pay off my mortgage, or my ultimate goal is to not have any debt, whatever that is. So come up with a number that's going to feel powerful to you and give you some sense of freedom. And for me, that's freedom, because right now in the back of my mind, I know how much runway I have left for my dad. And I'm like, okay, it's getting very close. So that'll kind of push you along if you're struggling. Okay. I want you to think about this. Now, this is where people start to think, when I tell you 1,000 people in an organization, you probably go, that's a lot of people. Yeah, see, Tammy did. I want you to think about it completely differently. I want you to think about the fact that recruiting 10 agents who all want to build 100 people each is 1,000 people. Recruiting 25 agents who all only want 40 agent organizations is 1,000 people. Okay, you're thinking about it and you're hearing 1,000 and you're feeling immediately your brain is shutting down and saying that is impossible. Is it possible to go recruit 10 agents this year? And 10 agents who you know want to build. We affectionately call them generals. Okay, right now I'm in my general building phase on my own personal organization because my ultimate goal is to have a 10,000 person organization. So I want 10 people who want 1,000 people. Does that make sense? Like that's who you're looking for. Yes, of course, you're always going to be recruiting other people. You're always going to have an independent agent who's going to come in and they're going to be doing their own thing. And that's 100% okay. But I want you to change the way you're thinking so that we can 10x what you're doing. I want you to find people who want what you want. And then now there's synergy. Now there's like duplicating efforts. We're all getting on, we're talking about it, just like right here, right? You're all people who want the same thing. So don't make it this number that feels so big. Instead say, do I think I could find 10 people? Because what would 100 people do for somebody's life? Okay, even 100 people in your organization is a big freaking deal. Okay, so those are the people you're looking for, that you're having a conversation with them. Maybe they're like me and they've been in real estate since the dawn of time and they think I don't ever want to sell again. And so you're like, let me see if I can help you figure out how to let that go and move in this direction. Those are the people you want to start attracting. So start thinking of your number and then working backwards in a way that makes more sense. Okay, for me right now, it's 10 generals at 1,000 people. Of course, I'm going to have some people in there that are going to be a little bit of a mix, right? But that's going to get me there. I always like to tell this story of, I don't know who it was. I'd have to go back and see if I saved it somewhere. There was someone here at EXP that his goal was 10,000. This is how I got the idea. I did not come up with it. And he realized after his first 2 generals hit 1,000 that that was the path to his freedom. He said, wow, 2 people in my organization just both got 1,000 people. How can I help more people do the same? And now what he does is when those people hit 1,000, he puts their picture in a frame and puts it on the wall. Right. So he's got a wall. He's way over 10,000, by the way. But he's got this wall of people like as they hit that point, but they've created a circle amongst them of how do we do it? How are we recruiting? How are we attracting? What are we able to share with each other to say what's working, what isn't working? You know, just yesterday, as I'm bringing on a couple new people, I was getting rid, and their teams, they're all teams. I said, hey, here's my template email that I usually send out to people before they jump on the Join app because they need to be ready to join right now, right? These people, these teams. And in it is the template that Laura and I use before we do an onboarding call where we actually do the Join app with them, guys. We are on Zoom, they are on their computer, typing in their Join app, and we are with them. There's a reason for that, okay? If they have questions, I want to answer it right then. I don't want them to save it, wait, call me, come back, maybe email back and forth. I want to help them get through it. I also want that to be their experience. But we send this template email that says, have your NERDS number, have your MLS number of transactions and volume you've done, make sure you have your bank account information and your credit card information handy. That way we can get through the Join app in about 30 minutes. So that is a system. And when I sent it to them, I said, save this. I want you to save my system so that when you start onboarding, now you have it, right? I'm giving them a head start in their own recruiting. Like, this is how we do it. This is why. Save this template, use it, change it, tweak it, whatever it is. And then that way, now you are creating the same systems we are creating that's making you more effective. And their first experience of onboarding is so good, right? I'm going to tell you that recruiting and retention starts from the second they're onboarding. From that very minute. I was just telling Laura and Casey this morning, we have this new system in process right now that when we have about, how many do we have a month coming in, Laura, right now? About 80, 88 into the organization roughly. And we have
100.
Around 100. And what happens now is as soon as they come in, Laura puts them into a spreadsheet for me, and they are getting an email from me immediately introducing who we are. right? So that they, as they get stuff from Empire Builders Pro, they know who we are, asking them to save our email addresses. Let me tell you why this was so effective yesterday. So typically Casey starts calling them about a week, maybe a week to 2 weeks after they join, because let's all be real, you get 950 emails from EXP the second that you join, and it's a little bit overwhelming. So she's calling to see how it goes. However, my initial email that went out, by the way, it's all automated. I use Zapier. I got a message back from someone who was already ready to quit. He joined on Valentine's Day. His onboarding experience was so miserable because his sponsor is not involved. She's part-time. And he was like, I'm over this. I think I'm going to go back to Coldwell Banker. And I said, let's jump on a Zoom. He's in level 7. We spent an hour with me walking him through everything and him feeling like he has support from us going forward. And he was like, I had no idea you guys were out there. And I'm so grateful I found you because I was literally ready to quit. He was like, this was what everybody told me cloud-based was going to be a problem for. And you're showing me that it doesn't have to be a problem. Okay. You got to dig all the way down deep, and it's got to start from that very minute, right? Like from the second that somebody reaches out to me and says that they're having an issue, I'm like, hey, let's just jump on. Like, let me see if I can change this experience for you, because that's the last thing I ever want to hear. Somebody just came on and they're already ready to go, right? So those are all systems and processes that as you are bringing people in, you should share, right? You give them the builders boot camp that we have inside of this, and you say, hey, go learn this and do this and jump on these calls because I want to help you build and I want to help you grow. It's a lot easier to do when you have somebody who's in that same mindset as you of, I want to build something big. And now you're creating synergy around it. You're duplicating, you're building something that's duplicatable, right? So that you can give it to other people. That's the beauty of what we do here at EXP. No one holds back. Everybody shares, right? And you want to make sure that you're doing that for anybody that you're bringing in that also wants to build. Does that make sense? Does anybody have questions about anything that I just talked about? Did this open up anybody's mind about like freaking out over the 1,000-person number? And now you're like, wait a minute, I could probably do 10.
Definitely. It sounds daunting, but it looks doable.
Yeah. Like, and I'm always transparent, guys. When I tell you that I want to get to 10,000, I want to be really honest about where my organization is right at this moment. 17.
Wow.
17. And so when I say 1,000, I'm like, oh, it's on like Donkey Kong. I'm going to have it by the end of the year. You know, like, because I am going to go from here to there, because that's who I'm looking for. I'm looking for people who want to do the same thing, because we can change people's lives with this. I mean, we can really change their lives. And I want you to think about it. I really want you to be serious when and listen to what I'm saying. This is not about them making you money. That's a perk. Okay. There are so many people who are working their butts off in real estate and still not earning what they could be earning if they were out there building something like this. You can absolutely change someone's life by guiding them through the same process. Even if it's like, look at mine, 17 people in my organization. And again, in full transparency, last month I made 630, I'm looking at my sheet. It's always open. My EXP is always open. I made $633.97. This month, it's only been calculating for 3 days. I'm at $1,833.11. That's with 17 people. Okay. It's nice plus. I look at it and I'm like, getting closer to 5,000. I look at it and that's what's pushing me to keep doing it and keep building it. But I definitely know agents out there who could use help and use additional income. So I don't want you to think about it as like, this is everything. It's just building me money. I also want you to think about it from the prospect of who else can I help? Is it Hillary? Am I saying it right? Hillary, you have your hand.
Hilaire.
Oh, Hilaire. Go ahead and come. What's up? What can I do for you?
I have a question. What exactly does out of production mean? Does that mean you're still generating leads and you're maybe referring them out?
Absolutely. It can look like anything that you want it to. So like, for instance, I've been in real estate. This is my 29th year. I do not sell. I do not lead generate. I do not do anything other than what I am doing for Empire Builders Pro and building my organization. I'm mostly an operational guru, nerd. I like to use that term lovingly. But I have not sold real estate in many years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 years, maybe a little less, 10 years, nor do I ever want to do it again. So you can still be here and building something like this, or you could be exactly what you said. You could be a team leader who says, I don't want to actually be the one out there doing listing appointments or buyer appointments anymore, but I'm still generating a lot of leads. And now I'm going to build a team of people who are going to go out and do it. You could also be an independent agent and never build a team, but give it out to your organization, right? With a referral fee and still earn that way. So it looks however you want it to look. If you decide that production is not the way you want to go anymore.
So are you still doing social media?
Yeah, I'm on social media.
But what is your focus on social media then?
Agent
Recruiting?
attraction.
Okay.
Agent attraction. And getting people to a place where I feel like they're going to grow more. Right? Opening their eyes up to that possibility. Some people absolutely come for the low cap, right? They're absolutely coming for that or the opportunity to icon. And we want to 100% support them in that as well. Right? But I'm trying to get them to open their eyes to the possibility that something else out there might be the right fit for them. Right now, we're very heavily pushing fast cap. Does everyone here know what fast cap is?
Not really.
Okay, let's talk about that very briefly because this is a great recruiting tool for you if you're not using it right now. So EXP introduced this new course called Fast Cap, and it sounds like exactly what it is. The goal is to get them to cap as fast as possible. So it's a 6 weeks course with accountability. They're using Sisu to keep track of how many calls they're making, how many appointments they're going on, with the goal at the end of 6 weeks that they are already in production if they weren't, or that they've gotten more into production than they did before because there's a higher level of accountability, with the ultimate goal being that we're getting them to their cap faster so they're earning 100% of their commission right away with us. So I'm using it like right now. I had a conversation yesterday. I made like 23 calls yesterday. I think I got 7. And I'm pushing to get them into the March 5th cohort. Okay, so they're only opening up like you typically 1 cohort a month. We were very lucky this month. They had one that started February 12th. That was for nighttime for anybody who does real estate on the side, right? But right now the next one starts March 5th. So my conversation with recruiting right now is, hey, listen, first of all, you're at Coldwell Banker and you have no cap and you're paying, company dollar till the end of time. Let's get you down to a $16,000 cap and let's get you capped as fast as possible. That way you're earning 100% for the remainder of your year. So if you're not using that as a recruiting tool, I highly encourage you to do that. Right? It's very powerful, especially for agents who aren't getting any support where they are, to know that they're going to have 6 weeks. And by the way, that's hours. There's commitment. You have to be on those Zoom calls. The commitment is that you're engaged, you're participating, you're putting your numbers in, and that on average right now, they're telling us that people who are in it for the full 6 weeks and fully engaged have 3 in pending before the end of the 6 weeks.
So 6 weeks for how long? How many hours?
It's I want to say it's 3 hours a week you're committing to and putting your numbers in.
Selina, where are you finding it? I can never find when the next cohort is.
expuniversity.com. And then at the very far left-hand side, it says fast cap, and it's always going to tell you if the cohort is full or when the next one is. Sometimes I'm able to get the information early and I try to push it out to our organization if I know, but we don't always know early. I drive them nuts over there at EXP University. I'm like, when's the next one? When's the next one? When's the next one? Go ahead, Tammy. You look like you had a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so is there a created social media piece around FastCap and Canva? Or are you creating something?
That's a great idea because I don't love what they have. Thank you, Laura, for putting that in the chat. She's got the link in there. They don't have great documentation on it. I mean, they've got, like, sometimes I'll just screenshot what's there if I need to send it to somebody via text message, or I just make my own email about it that talks about it. But that's actually a good point. I should ask them to do a little something special.
Yeah, make it easy for those of us that are incredibly Canva challenged. Like, no joke.
Okay, what was the question, Tammy? What did you ask?
I asked if there was a social media piece in Canva Pro for us about FastCap.
Oh,
not yet, but I will actually give them that feedback and tell them, like, hey, just knock something out real quick for us.
I mean, like what you're saying, Selina, it's a great recruiting tool. So let's get everybody posting it and sharing it and create some synergy.
Yeah. And what I do is, especially like right now, because we're getting so close to the end of the month already, right? We're midway through. I'm like, hey, this means you've got to be fully onboarded with us in order to get into that class. So, let's keep pushing. Let's get you in. Let's get you started. So create urgency around the date as well. And they almost always fill up, right? So you want to get them in and you want to get them enrolled right away, because a lot of times you'll see the class is full already and we have to wait for the next one to release. So utilize that for also bringing folks in. That was a great idea, Tammy. I'm going to message them about that later. So any other questions on that? That was a great question as well, Hilaire, on getting out of production. I'm like, what does that mean? It's different for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, and I had a question about, you said that you've been out of production for 10 years, but you've got 17, what is it called, in your downline or upline?
Yes.
Were you recruiting that whole 10 years?
Nope.
Or-
Nope.
Oh.
I've only been with Rick and Casey this is 3 years coming up in May, and most of my job is supporting their organization. So I have not been actively recruiting until recently for my own, right? So I'm
Oh.
building theirs. Everyone that's in mine is a relationship that I've had over the years. I'm also a master coach with Workman Success Systems. So those are folks that are in my life that I have influence with that made the decision to come over.
Mm,
And
okay.
now I'm starting to realize, like, I should be doing more of this. Hello, I've been doing this forever. I know a lot of
Yeah.
realtors, right? But I always try to make sure I'm focused on what I'm doing for all of you. That's my first priority at Empire Builders Pro. And then the attraction just sort of naturally happens because of your own influence, right? People will ask me, they're like, well, tell me a little bit more about RevShare. What is that doing for you? Because you don't sell houses anymore. And I'm like, let me tell you. I'll tell you exactly what it does for me. Right? And I give them the exact numbers because I like to be very transparent. I like to tell people, like, look, this is how much I'm earning. And I've only been doing it for a minute and I'm not actively out there doing it on my own. Most of what I build is for Casey now, right? So I'm actively recruiting to her front line all the time. All right.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's most of my job, right? And I want to make sure everyone here understands as well, because this is fairly new since last year, and I am often hearing that people don't know this. RevShare 2.0 changed things up. So if you are still in production, it used to be that you had to have 5 people in your front line to open up level 2, 10 people to open up level 3, etc. Right? Now, level 1 through 3 is open for everyone, right? Everybody's earning revenue share on levels 1 through 3. And if you cap, so if you're still in production and you cap, it automatically opens up all the way to level 5 for 13 months. And if you icon, it opens up all the way to level 7 for 13 months. Now, normally to get all 7 levels open, you have to have 30 FLQA in your front line. See, this is where it becomes a problem for Selina, who's no longer in production. As my organization continues to grow both wide and deep, I have to always be working towards having 30 people in the front line that are in production in order to open up all 7 levels. If you are still in production and selling real estate at a high level, you're going to open up 5 the second. Let's be real, everybody can cap. Okay, like I've thought about it. I was like, maybe I just go back into real estate for a hot minute. I could cap in no time. In California, I just moved to Houston. I don't know, the price point's lower here. It only took 4 transactions in California. But that is something for you to think about as well and make sure that you understand if you are still in production. Okay. Is everybody aware of those changes?
I was not.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is something really to think about. It's great for those of you that are still in production because you've got sort of that coverage for quite some time if you want to work that way and then eventually work out of production, just knowing that you need 30 on that front line to hit 7 levels. Right now, I only have 3 levels. It's not as important to me. All 3 of mine are open. But in about a week and a half, I'm going to have people on my 4th level who I will never earn on unless I get one more person in my front line. And let me tell you how disappointing and sad it makes you inside when you don't get paid on a level. You look
Or
at
if
it.
you cap, right? Or if you cap, Selena.
If you need to have 5 in the front line to open up level 4 right
Okay.
now, or you can cap and it'll open all the way up to 5.
Right.
In
Okay.
order for me to open up level 5 for me, I have to have 10 in my front line because I don't produce.
I see.
Yeah. So just things for you to think about as you're starting to develop your strategy around what you're building. Okay?
And the old thing was something about 10 on the front line, which is why it sticks in my head, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. And remember, if anyone doesn't understand what a qualified agent is versus just a frontline agent is anyone that you are recruiting directly into that first line. Qualified means they have to have closed at least earned at least $5,000 in GCI once every 6 months to qualify for you. Once every 6 months. Okay. So for a lot of places, that's only one transaction. In some places, it's two, depending on what they're doing. But that's what makes them qualify for you to be earning revenue share. If they're in there and they're not producing, it's just empty space,
Mm.
which does happen. It does happen.
So would you say it's better to recruit an established agent versus a brand new one?
Not always. I've had great success over the years. I used to run a big team in New York, and I brought somebody in who hadn't worked. She'd been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years, and she hadn't had a job, nothing. And I don't know, I loved her from the second I met her. But I remember the team leader whose team I was running was very concerned and nervous. He only wanted agents who were already successful. And I was like, I don't know, I've got a good feeling about this lady. Guys, she freaking killed it. She became a second top producing agent in the year one. Like, she was super motivated to go out and prove herself, and she's still with him. And now she's his listing agent, and she's doing incredible things. So never discount that somebody who's new to the business is not fully capable of being pretty amazing. Right?
Yeah.
Selena,
Yeah.
can you repeat for me what the FLQA is? Sorry, I
Yes.
got distracted.
Of course. So in order to be a frontline qualifying agent, they have to have earned $5,000 in GCI once every 6 months. So there is a place in your My EXP that you can go and see your whole organization. And when you export it into Excel, guys, it will tell you what their FLQ expiration date is. That's important. I'm watching it like a hawk on Casey's every single day, because when you go under 30, you lose your whole 7th level, and it's devastating. But I'm also looking to see when people are expiring. Okay, so like right now, I have three calls I have on my list today that I want to make for people who've been FLQAs for 3 years, and for some reason they're about to expire, and I show they don't have anything in pending. That's a personal phone call for me, being like, hey, what's happening? Everything okay over there? Like, you thinking about selling some real estate? Like, like what's going on, right? Something must be happening in their life that they don't have anything pending. Okay, so you're watching that, because when you drop below those numbers, all of a sudden you're losing entire levels of revenue share. It's very important. So as your organization grows, and this is something we can always talk as it's growing. I love to show people my strategies for how I go in and I keep track of all poor Louder. She's so sick of me. I have like 9,000 spreadsheets, but like, I know exactly when anyone is expiring. And this is another opportunity, if you want to get out of production, to refer them some business. If you see they're going to expire in another month or two, like, hey, I've got this and I don't want to drive that far. Do you want to take this buyer from me? Right? They close that. Now they qualify. Okay. So it's a different kind of support as you're building stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So just stuff to think of, right? Like stuff you want to think about and keep your eyes on as you continue to grow, and you want to give them support. Like, honestly, there's one person on there that I'm very concerned about personally, because I know their financial situation, I know their family situation, and now I see that they don't have anything impending. The inside of me is going, something's going on in their life. I should probably check in, right? Something is happening, because this is an unusual situation for them. So those numbers tell us a lot of things. They tell us a lot of things. It's not just about what you're earning, but it's like, now I have concern for them as a human, as a person, right? So I'm going to check on that. So the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about was visionary leadership. So I'm sure you're all aware that Casey and I feel very strongly about mindset. We feel very strongly about building our own skill set all the time. And this is something that I want you to think about. I read voraciously. Not fun books. They're mostly workbooks, right? I'm reading so many of them right now, and on average, I'm reading 2 or 3 at a time, because they're all different things. But I want you to keep thinking about who you show up as a leader, and then that starts to attract those kinds of people into your lives. Okay. Always be working on your leadership skills. I'm reading everything. Like right now, I'm still reading The AI Driven Leader, because I'm big into AI right now. I'm loving it. Yep, Michelle's too. I'm reading one called Be Seen. Okay, there's a reason for this. I am an introvert. It is Doesn't seem like it, right? Because I'm always on screen. But and I'm a coach, but I am not overly comfortable with putting myself all over social media and being so far out there. I just never have been. Most of what I've built and developed over the years has just been as a result of my abilities, not necessarily that I'm going out there and plastering my face all over everything. I don't feel comfortable with it. I just don't. So I'm reading this book where this woman says, it's called Be Seen on Purpose, right? Be seen is be your authentic self and attract who that brings in without necessarily needing to be like your face is all over it, but maybe it's your content. Maybe it's what you feel about business and about helping people's lives. That's a different kind of being seen, right? So it's actually a really good book if you're looking to read it. So I want you to think about the kinds of ways that you are developing your own leadership abilities and spending time with people who want the same thing, right? It's very impactful to us when we spend time with people who don't. It tends to bring you down. I was reading this research article the other day. It was fascinating to me that it said, even if you are in the room with someone and working next to them, even at a conference or something like that, who you know is operating at a much higher level, has better success than you, you will absolutely increase your own ability by at least 15% just by being next to them in proximity. Crazy. I was like,
Yeah,
who can I
yeah,
sit next to? Like, I just want to go sit next to really smart
yeah,
people. Like, all day. Like,
yeah.
fascinating, isn't it, Hilaire? Like,
Oh, it is. I'm just thinking of my husband. He had a private office where he works, and now all of a sudden they decided they're going to move him into an office with like 9 other people. It's like the size of it's like half the size of his private office.
wow.
And his personality has changed like you wouldn't believe. I said, "Oh, so we're going to be grumpy all day today." But I feel for him. I mean, he's literally 14 inches away from everybody.
Oh, wow.
It's
Wow.
horrible. It's just awful.
So,
So
like,
I don't know how long that's going to last.
yeah, it's tough.
I
Like,
was gonna say, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Tammy.
I was gonna say that's the reason I came to EXP. I was a big fish in a small pond, but it's not necessarily good for me. Feeds my ego all day long.
Yeah.
But I love being the baby minnow in the ocean. I love it. It's so good for me.
Well,
Yeah.
and now you get to grow into that space.
Exactly, exactly. I used to tell my agents all the time, if you're not learning, you're not doing your job correctly. And I had kind of peaked where I was, right? But now
Yeah.
I'm exposed to so much. And that's the kind of excitement I try to impart when I'm talking to agents.
That's awesome. And
Well,
it's
they
interesting
don't
that
always want it, Selena.
no, they don't. No, they don't. It was interesting because as I was speaking to that gentleman yesterday who had such a bad onboarding experience, what he said to me was, he said, this is what everyone told me was going to happen with a cloud-based company,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't have the support I needed. And I said, well, let me put it to you a different way then. I'm going to open your mind up to something. If you hadn't been a part of this cloud-based company and you hadn't gotten the email from me and I hadn't jumped onto Zoom with you, you would not have gotten this kind of instant help. So there is some benefit to cloud-based because I said, look, now we're friends. Now I'm going to help you. Now I'm going to guide you through this. You're in, and he was in Hayward, California. I'm like, I'm in Houston, but here I am. Right? Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't have gotten me that fast if I had to like get in a car and drive to a brokerage and show, try to make time to do that around anything else I had going on. Instead, I was like, hey, I'm available an hour. Let's get on Zoom. Let's figure out what's happening. Right. And he was like, I hadn't really thought about it that way. I said, I
Yeah.
want you to consider that being cloud-based, being available like this, all of us on this call are from other places, right? Like very few of us are in the same spot. So we have exposure to more as a result of this, as opposed to being limited to going into a brokerage that might have 200, 300 people in it that may or may not be wanting the same things you want. They may be there talking around the water cooler all day. But you can choose to be a part of calls like this, where you get exposure to people who want the same things you want or want to help you grow into those things, right? And I'm always going to put myself in a situation where I am going to learn from other folks. It's powerful. Like Michelle Terry that you see here in the corner is a fellow workman coach. And when we go to coach training, I just sit, and this is me, I'm like totally quiet. And I just listen to everybody because I'm so lucky to be in that room. And I am taking all of the knowledge that I possibly can. I make a million notes because the people who are in that room are truly leaders in their industry. And I want to be next to them in proximity because I grow and learn from it. Okay, so that's something that you need to make sure. That is a very big hiccup I get from recruits about cloud-based, right? Oh, I want to go in. I'm like, why? Why? Now you can have 300 people on a Zoom call participating and giving you different ideas. You're getting exposure to more. You can go back and watch them in case you missed them. You can't do that at a meeting inside of a brokerage. They typically don't record them, right? I'm like, hey, you got a listing appointment and you're going to miss this call? No worries. Jump on our YouTube and watch it afterwards, right? Because now you have the ability. So I want you to think about, how are you telling people that this is an opportunity for them to lift the lid, right? Lift the lid. If you guys don't know John Maxwell's, raise the lid, go look that up for sure. But always be working on self-development. Always, Casey and I are both deeply involved with PSI. It's a personal development program. We've both done it. It was actually a requirement that Rick and Casey made for me in order to join them. I had to do the 3-day basic, and then I immediately went and did the 7-day. And then I immediately went and did the 8-day women's leadership, right? I did all of it all in 1 year. I'm so grateful for the opportunity that I had to do that, because, and it's not an inexpensive endeavor, but it's worth every penny.
Is
Okay.
that with EXP?
No, it's called PSI Seminars, Personal Success Institute. And I would recommend it to anyone and everyone, but you have to be willing to really open up your heart and your mind and learn a lot more about yourself during that whole experience. But I'm always still working on it. And because of what I did, I now have relationships with all of those people. The women's leadership was 52 women. First of all, let me just be clear that me spending 8 days with 52 women was a lot, because I am an introvert and most women are not. There's a lot of talking happening for 8 days, but a lot of feelings. It was really difficult for me, but I am still in relationship with those 52 women. Like those are relationships for life now, for life. And some of those people blew me away with who and what they were. Right? It was all walks of life, and we all are still deeply involved with each other. So always be working on that. But I also want to make sure that when you're working on you, you are encouraging whomever you're talking to work on them. Right? There's a lot that we get here at EXP that allows us to do that, whether it's attending EXPCon, attending one of the build events, the regional rallies. Anybody who all here is going to Cabo? Excellent. I'm going to see some folks. Okay, so Cabo is next month. That's hosted by Brent Gove. It's a much smaller event than EXPCon. The main hotel is sold out if anybody wants to go. Laura, can you put that in the chat? It's cabo2025.com. If anybody wants to go, it's typically about 1,000 people or less, which is kind of amazing. And half of the day is spent on production, agent attraction, and the other half is fun. Like, so what happens is it's a lot of networking out by the pool, a lot of conversations with people who are the bigger fish that you're like, hey, I saw you on stage. Can I ask you more about that? Right? It's really powerful. So those are the kinds of things you want to encourage them to go to as well, because they're getting exposure to exactly what we're talking about here. I have this vision. How do I get from here to here to here to here to here? Right? And that's the best way to do it, because people learn from stories. You can tell them all day about what you think is the right thing for them. They're going to connect to the story. It doesn't have to be yours. It can be, let me tell you about Selina. She's got 17 people in her organization, and this is her goal for this year, and this is how she's doing it. Let me tell you about Casey and Rick. This is how they started, and this is what they did. People connect to the story. It does not have to be your own. It will be eventually. But in the beginning, you can connect them to someone else's story. Borrow the belief from someone else. It's one of my favorite things we say at Workman. Okay, I know I'm still jumping through. So I'm just going to reiterate, what you're going to do is reverse engineer your goal. Okay, whatever your number is, you're going in and calculating however many agents that is. Then I want you to think about the strategy. Is it 10 people with 100 each? Is it 25 with 40 each? What does that look like based on your experiences with people that you know? And it can definitely be a mix. Okay, there is someone in Rick and Casey's front line whose organization is bigger than theirs is. It was not expected that that was going to happen. Like when Rick brought her in, it was a relationship he'd had for years. And he was like, this is great. She's a great fit. Her organization is now bigger than Rick's and Casey's.
Mm.
Pretty amazing, right? Nobody had any idea that was going to happen, and we're super grateful it did. And, you know, we are always communicating, collaborating, talking, and doing things together because we want the same things, right? And we're teaching people to do the same. So build that core team of agents. Now, I want you to think about this as something, and there's a reason for this. At Workman, we teach a lot about top 50. So top 50 are the top 50 people in your life that you like, that like you back, that you believe if they were talking about real estate would give your name and refer you business. Okay, that's how we do that for top 50. I want you to think about your top 50 real estate agents that you know. The top 50 people that you have a relationship with, maybe you've done 3 transactions with them and you thought they were amazing, whatever that is, and start developing a top 50 list. And even if you got 25, it's a win. Even if you got 5, guys, it's a win. Stay in conversation with them. At top 50, what we do at Workman is that's every month. You're calling them, you're meeting them for coffee, lunch, something like that. Like you're in their face. You guys are like, there's a lot of eye contact happening. So I want you to think about it the same way with an agent. How committed are you to touching base with them every single month? Just because they're not ready right now doesn't mean they won't be ready later. But the only way that they're going to know that you still care about them is if you're staying in contact. So develop that core group of 50. We all know more than that. It's the same thing we say about SOI. Your sphere of influence is the 250 to 300 people you would invite to your wedding or your funeral. I guarantee you that you know a lot of agents as well if you've been in this as long as I have. So make that list too. Your top
Selena,
50. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say something about that top 50?
Of course you can.
So I started a top 50 list of real estate agents in 2022. And of course, I'm revisiting that and planting seeds and doing my homework. Do you know that on my top 50, I had six agents in 2022 that said they were happy where they are, they will never make a move. Do you know how many of them made moves?
All of them.
All of them. All of them. And now I'm planting seeds
I love
for
that.
another potential move.
I love that. Never give up on folks, people. There's so much that we have to offer here that other places don't, right? And a lot of people don't know the full model. I want to stress how important it is to meet them where they're at. It's different for everybody. Not everybody's going to build, okay? Not everybody's going to care ever about recruiting. But actually being able to buy stock at a 5% discount with their commission is very impactful to a lot of people, okay? Having the ability to icon and get all of that back in stock, that 16,000, very impactful. Someone the other day on my Facebook page, we've been friends for years, and he actually came to EXP for a little bit, and then he went back to Keller Williams, and he posted on Facebook, and it was this big poster that KW had put outside of his office saying he was like a top producer, and he's like, look what I got. And I was like, would you like to compare it to stocks? Like a poster's great and all, but like what you gonna do with it later? It's like, you're gonna keep the poster? Like, does it give you anything? Like, is it putting any money in your account? Like, and he's like, ha ha. I was like, I'm just saying, like, it's a nice poster and all, but I'm just thinking, like, I know that means you're getting closer to icon based on your production. So wouldn't you rather have 16,000 in stock? I don't know. Again, the poster's nice. Frame it, knock yourself out. But like, you have to look at people and say, what could change things for them? And it's going to be different for everyone. Don't EXP all over them. Don't spit up everything on them that we have to offer, because it's usually only 1 or 2 things that EXP has to offer that's really going to make a difference. It's not the whole kit and caboodle, because it's overwhelming. Right? It could be just 1 or 2 things that's going to make it. The community. They may be at a big brokerage and never get support. That's important for you to know, right? And then you talk to them about what we have and what we offer and the support that we do. So I want you to start building that top 50, and then I want you to also build an SOI, 250 to 300 people, whether you've gone to their open house and met them, you did a transaction with them, whatever that looks like. You went to, Women's Leadership Council at the MLS and you met some great people. All of those people go in there. Those are all opportunities for you to talk to people and just meet them where they're at. Stay in relationship, okay? This last one that we talked here, this established systems and consistency, Use the resources, guys. Use the EXP resources. Make sure that you know what that is. Hang on, I'm going to share another thing in here to make sure that you guys know what it looks like. 1 second. It's, what does your $85 get you? You would be surprised by how effective this one page can be. And this, by the way, when you open it, it's a Canva link. All of these links go to the appropriate thing so that people can learn more about it. This is what they get for $85 a month. Okay, access to all of this. This is a very impactful form to send to somebody because they're like, yeah, it came up yesterday. Someone said, oh, I'm just curious about the tech stack. And I sent this and they were like, holy crap, this is a lot. Like, we get a lot. I'm like, and always building on it every single day, right? It's growing, it's getting better, but they had no idea about revenues. Like they only wanted the tech stack, but because this gave them everything on here, it blew their minds. It blew their minds. So make sure that you're using the tools and resources. If you don't know what they are, if you don't know where they are, make sure you're participating in our calls because it's just like now. I'm always giving them out. You can always message me, ask me. I save everything. One day my brain is going to be too full and it's just going to turn into mush. But for now, it's still working. But I can find it for you. This morning, I had to ask, we call them our Alpha Elves. We have a support team for Casey's organization, and I needed something about a team situation. And they sent me a document I've never seen before. And I thought I'd seen everything. And I said to Laura, I was like, I'm going to need to go and study this so I can take a test on it later because it was so much information about teams at EXP that I had not seen previously, right? You have to go out there and find what you need or ask for it because what you are telling them is going to be the decision maker. Like it's not just telling, you're going to need to show it. They're going to need to see the resources in order to make a decision. And then again, leverage that fast cap, guys. And Builders Bootcamp is what Casey has inside of empirebuilders.pro. We have the Builders Bootcamp there that teaches you exactly how to do agent attraction, soup to nuts. If you haven't taken it, it's 7 30-minute sessions. Do that, but leverage that for anyone who wants to build. Say, listen, we're going to help you. Participate on our Tuesday calls. Go take the Builders Bootcamp. If it's more important for them to do production, leverage fast cap. Make sure that they're fully aware that we've got training and courses. For some of you, was anybody here? And when I taught Activate, I'm trying to think if anybody took my Activate class. No. So I don't have to teach it as much now. I was teaching a 2-day course we had about 800 people in our organization who hadn't closed one transaction at all in the previous year. And I designed a course called Activate, which was a 2-day course, 6 hours both days of getting people back into the mindset of getting into production. I taught them everything I could in 2 days. And then for 30 days, they had to be on huddles with me and they had to do daily success habits. All of these things are things that we can use to get people where they need to be. There's a lot of people not producing right now, like a lot. Last year was a really tough year for folks. Okay, I know we're running out of time. Okay, again, just identify what your key steps are, set a timeline. Mine's 1,000 people by the end of this year. I'm going to go from 17 to 1,000. And I mean it. I'm serious about it. No, and it's all about who I'm talking to and attracting at the moment. Because what will that mean for me? $300,000 in revenue share. Okay. Set whatever the goal is and put a timeline. Don't just say, I want to get to 1,000 people. I want to know how many you want by when. Nicole, good question. I started out with 16. I'm still there. I currently have 47 pending, like roughly on people that are coming into my organization, right? They're not all direct recruited to me, but it's people that I brought on that have brought people on. So I will be 47 people extra on top of the 16 very shortly as a result of the work that I've been doing. Okay. And supporting those people and bringing people in, right? So I want you to be strategic about it. Assign responsibilities. If you have I have a lovely Laura Formicelli here. She's my virtual assistant. She is the other side of my brain. I delegate things to her all of the time. I don't know what I would do without her. So if you need to consider getting a virtual assistant or even just working with another agent and deciding to hold each other accountable, and maybe one person, Tammy, this is important, is great at Canva, but the other person is not, right? Link up with someone who's great in Canva and say, here's how I'm going to contribute as well. So you guys can work together and collaborate, right? And then determine all of your resources. Make sure that you save these pages that I share with you, right? I have them all bookmarked. That's how I was able to get to it so fast, so that when somebody asks you a question, you have quick and easy access to that. And then lastly, just like whatever that vision and your commitment is, guys, I want you to think right now, today, what's one thing you're going to do to get you closer to that? Whether it's, I'm going to create my top 50, I'm going to create my SOI of agents, I'm going to actively like create some sort of email campaign to all of these people, whatever that looks like. It can be all of the above. That's what Selina is doing. doing all of the above, so that all of those actions together start to build something big. Okay, we have 4 minutes left and I'm done talking. Who's got questions? Who wants 1,000 people? Who wants it? Yeah. Right? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. See? So now we need to just create an accountability group and be like, how many people did you talk to yesterday? Right?
I was thinking, so like I've courted, because I like to throw money at the problem. I do it all the time. But I tweaked the new things and it reversed. So I'm always going for the low hanging fruit, and it instead sent me the people that have like are selling $50 million. I'm like, oh no, I can't talk to them, right? And it's like, I know. And it's like I need like the avatar of who I want to target, and I also need to get a good patter, script, whatever, that feels comfortable, so that I can just start, because the no from them and the yeah is the same as the no from the, like zeros, but like, the yes is a way bigger yes. And so that is a conversation I'd love to have at another time. I'm just telling you my fears out loud so that, they're less scary.
I love that. So I just put another Canva link in here. Leo Robles, who's in our organization and recruits at a very high level, had a great call about maybe 2 weeks ago. And he then shared the framework at the end. Now it's very similar to what I do already for recruiting, but his went like one step further and I really loved it. And now I'm using it. Claire, this is exactly what the script looks like. And like what I want you. So print it, learn it, start like realizing, and they're like they're done by like value, VALUE, right? Here's what I did. I have this printed out. Now this is what I'm working on next. I used to do this when I did Wise Hire applications. I had like a very set recruiting appointment like list of templates that as I ask them questions on the phone, I'm going to take this to make sure that I'm asking all the right questions while I'm on the phone. Claire, you use Corded. I use something called Smart Setters. They make outbound calls for me for agents. So when they set an appointment for me, this is the script I'm using during our 15-minute conversation for me to know what's important to them and then determine which avenue is right? Is it production? Is it team? Is it this? Is it that? I'm listening to how we can add value. So you guys should utilize this as well. Take it, learn from it, and see what you can do with it as well. Anybody else have anything else? I know we only have a minute left.
I
Go
have
ahead,
one
Michelle.
quick question. Are you building out your recruiting platform through KV Core or something different?
I use Marketing Madness, which is like Go High Level for anybody else who's using it. That's mostly what I use. But I was doing a lot of email campaigns, and I still do. However, I spend most of my time on the phone, and I'm going to be very honest with you. Most of the connections I've made recently have been because of video text.
Wow.
I don't care how I look that morning. I sit here, I've got this little stand that I put my phone on, and I just record myself. And every one of them is personal. I say their name in it. It's not a generic that goes to 20 people. I'm like, hey, Michelle, just checking in, well, the last time we talked, this is what we talked about. I know that this was important to you. I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to take a look at the resources I sent you. When can we talk next? I'm available this afternoon or tomorrow. That has gotten better engagement than any text message, email, or anything like that. So use video if you're not getting people. If they don't respond to that, I then send them another one that says, I've tried everything, message in a bottle, smoke signal, and like carrier pigeons. Like, what's it going to take for us to get on the phone together? They think that's funny and they finally reply. So sometimes just use humor. I see Tracy coming in, Laura. I have to run. I'm doing our team meeting for our sales team right now. It was such a pleasure to see all of you today. I hope you got something from it, and I'm looking forward to everybody wanting 1,000 people and changing everybody's lives.
Thank you, Selena.
Thanks, guys. All right, bye.
Thank you.